I'm Cash, and welcome back to Cash Talks Football, where we're breaking down all the goals scored in the Europa League as Manchester United are trying to get Champions League football, and you know what? They've got one foot firmly in that final, going back to Old Trafford with a 3-0 win. Now, mark my words, a 3-0 win in like any of these European competitions, as much as, any old Barcelona fan will tell you, or PSG fan, when PSG were 3-0 up and Barcelona ended up beating them 4-3, didn't they, on aggregate on the last couple of minutes of the game. And then Barcelona a couple of years later lost to Liverpool, was it? Well, they were 3-0 up. So it's one of those weird score lines. It's that anything can happen. And if they get the bit between their teeth, they can overturn this, but not very likely. It's got to be something weird happen at Old Trafford, like Man United get a player sent off like Atletico did today. And we're going to cover that as well, because that's a bit of a weird rule, the double jeopardy rule. It's one of those things that honestly, I couldn't tell you what it is in Europe, and I'm going to have to look it up and have a real read about it, because they took the double jeopardy rule out ages ago, where you couldn't give a penalty and a red card on the same foul, but they put it back in depending on the definition of the foul now. So I'd have to actually read their rulings on what the definition of the foul is, because that's the key moment of why you can send somebody off and give them a penalty, and that's the problem as well. Is you. So I used to have a guy when I've had lots of high-end business mentors that's helped me through the world and do whatever. And one of the guy was teaching me about how credit card processing works, and how everyone pays a fee for credit card processing, and how the governments can never ever regulate it. And their trick is that they have a massive book of regulations that they rewrite every year. So by the time you've figured out what it is, they change the regulations. It kind of reminds me of refereeing. Every time everyone's figured out the rules and regulations, they change it and go, oh no, that was 2 years ago. Double jeopardy is no longer a thing, and we change that, and you're just like, oh, because there's no consistency. And then they change it in between leagues, depending on the Europa League, Champions League, and the Premier League, and La Liga, and they all have little nuances that change all of those things, like double jeopardy. So don't get caught out when you think you know the rule, and you know, you probably did know the rule 4 years ago, maybe even 5, because they change it so often and so many times. And with IFAB, and remember, when it comes from IFAB and FIFA, that isn't necessarily the rules that they end up implementing in their league. Yeah, because otherwise you'd have consistency and a quality product and quality refereeing. But let's get into the breakdown a little bit here. Got a couple of points to make, and I want to show you this awful touch here. Now, the ball's been pinged in from out wide, and this is because it doesn't have the ability to play the ball into this space here. Look, you can see that's where exactly it should have gone. Instead, you've played it to a player who's really caught in a pressure pocket right here. You do not want to be playing the ball inside here, because you know he's in trouble. He doesn't have a forward pass. He doesn't have a backwards pass. Why? Because he's facing this way. So as he's receiving the ball, the only way they can do is try to turn with it. Okay? The problem is, as he tries to turn with it, he doesn't have the skill to do it. So he's just lost the ball. They end up going on and almost scoring, but you put your teammate in a bad situation because you refused to play it down the line. That's all you had to do. Play it down there. Didn't do it. Teammate in the middle, under pressure, lost the ball. Now they're on a counter-attack. It's all from the pass selection of the player out wide here. It's Bruno Fernandes, shocker. Everyone only ever notices when he does something great. They don't call him on the 400 things he does wrong in the game that puts his team under pressure. They'll blame, I think it's Agate here for this, but it's not his fault. He shouldn't be put in that pressure situation in the first place. You can see he's panicking under his touch because he knows he's getting closed down so quickly, and he's not good enough just to think it around the player and go past him. Yeah, should have played it down the line, taken all the pressure off. A couple of things happen. 1, the ball's in their half. 2, it's a foot race. United players are probably going to win that. And 3, you don't put it into the middle of the field, into an area where you can see you're outnumbered and they're going to counter-attack on you. Yeah, not good enough. I'm thinking of putting a little clip ratio of all the things, because this goalkeeper is completely and utterly just inadequate and technically flawed. I want you to watch his movement as this guy heads the ball, which you clearly know he's going to be going across it towards this way. Watch what the keeper's movement is like. He's moving completely and utterly away from the ball and shocked that it goes over to the other side. It's like, oh, it's going over there. I was going over here. If that's on target, that's a goal, and this game's different. And that's the capitulation that could happen at Old Trafford if Club Atleti get the bit between their teeth earlier on. And it's kind of hard as well, because they've had a major blow. The final's going to get played in this stadium, and they're like one and a half, they're almost out of it completely. So there's going to be huge psychological damage that this game has just done to them. So we've got a deep lining free kick here. This is where Fernandes is taking the free kick. You can see the line is actually on the 18-yard box. Not like they do in the Premier League. They'd be up here and the ball would go in behind and they'd run in and score. They end up scoring anyway. But there's a reason why Club Athletic don't have... they don't have many goals scored against them. I think they have one of, if not the best defensive league in the Premier League. It's probably because they watch my channel and actually understand how to defend set pieces properly, because this is how you do it. You take that space away. There is a weird thing here. I want to show you on this free kick. Now, I've commented before, I used to have this weird technique which I could put onto a ball where right at the last minute it would fade away, and I had players yelling at me because they were always expecting the fade, and when I didn't put it on there they would make the wrong runs because it wouldn't go onto their foot. This is weird. I want to show you. This ball moves. It was going straight from there and it starts to go that way. Watch this. Watch this. Do you see it bend? This might show you a little bit better. I've put it back just a little bit. Watch this ball. Watch this ball movement. Do you see it move there? I don't know if there was a gust of wind in the stadium or something caught it, but you can see everyone's online. You can see where he's trying to put it. He's exactly trying to put it there, and then it just fades away. Very strange, very strange. And you know he's not trying to put it there because they're absolutely and utterly exposed on the counter-attack, except for this fantastic block right here. This is what sets up the ball. As they try to go on the counter-attack, it's broken up and it's passed out wide. For some reason, Garnacho actually passed the football. Don't know why, but he did. And then no one knew that Harry Maguire is actually Ronaldinho in disguise and just turns his player inside out on the wing. Now, if you get done by Harry Maguire on the wing, you might want to give up football. Like, genuinely, it's Harry Maguire. Here, when he goes to put the cross in, he does absolutely brilliantly to fake the defender, bump and cut it back and stand still, right? So this is actually a really interesting skill that he just had. I don't know, he's brilliant at it. So when you're running and the motive and all your emphasis is going one direction, just to stand still, like, and absolutely instantly stop. You can see because the defender can't do it. He's had to go 1, 2, and then on the third step to step back. Instantly stopping and not like stopping and then another yard, to get your balance back. That's really good, like genuinely really good. As much as I rag on Harry Maguire for being a terrible defender, which he is, that's decent, being able to do that cut and stop dead and not have to take another step to get your balance or do whatever, where you can see, well, the defender can't do that. Ultimately, he doesn't do a good enough job. He shut him down. He should be trying to tackle the ball by about now. We all know why he doesn't. If you don't, because you're new here, check out some of my videos about modern players not learning to tackle, but actually only learning to really intercept passes in team structures and shapes, and moving team structures and shapes around and intercepting those passes instead of actually doing one-on-one work and trying to win a football. Now, if you are Athletic Club, this is one of the things that would really sort of worry you. You have got a man completely free on the back post. No one is really marking, like here, 1, 2 inside the box here. And you're supposed to have the best defensive, record in, well, one of in Europe. I don't know if it is. I think it's, I'd always say top 3, yeah, because people make mistakes and they don't count in other things. And what I mean by other things is they pad stats to make it look like what they want it to. So, for instance, how they're doing in cup competitions will get included if they're doing well, and that makes them number 1. If you take out the cup competitions, they might be number 3. So it's all these weird things that people play with statistics and say, oh, they're number 1 because we've said they are. Yeah, based on what exactly? Is that in all of their Europa League goals scored against them? Is that their cup competition scored, like domestic cups? How are you doing that exactly? Because if it's just the league, well, that doesn't really count, does it? But yeah. So ball's coming in here. Now this is a complete and utter just free header, dump, knock on. That should have been on target. That is poor. Absolutely poor. But I'll tell you what, as much as I ragged on Casemiro at the start of the season, there is something about older players as they play through the season with experience, that they come into their own and they slowly end up being able to, because they've just been here before. And they know that the business end of the season is after January, around sort of Christmas, and they slowly get a little bit better as the season progresses at the end, and that's why they win Champions Leagues at Real Madrid back in the day or wherever they were playing. Some of these older players get better as the season goes on, or do they? Or does everybody else drop off and they just stand still and they don't drop off as much as everyone else? You'll have to figure that one out yourselves. I could tell you, but that'd be no fun. Decent header on the spot, gets himself a goal. Okay, there's so much controversy in this goal going on because that is 100% a handball and not a handball at the same time. Does he slip? Yeah. So can you give him the handball? And that's the problem. If it goes in the goal, you're giving the handball because it's an advantage that he's gained because now you've maintained possession that you wouldn't have had if you haven't hit your hand. That's the problem. If it doesn't go in the goal, you're not giving the handball. That's the problem. It's like this is where football is. You either love it or you hate it because the rules are kind of flexible and they are all bit of nonsense, really. But that's what makes us all watch the game. That is a handball. Not only then, he kicks it and it hits his hand again. Double handball. 2 handballs. Yeah. Now, here's the problem if you've ever played in a game when you can see a blatant decision and the referee hasn't given it. You switch off because you're just angry at the referee for not seeing what you've seen, not giving you what the foul that you should have, and it just changes your mentality completely. You don't defend anywhere near as well as you do, and you get frustrated. That's why they give this penalty away. They are frustrated. Just seeing that, that's not fair. I'm going to do something reckless, and that's exactly what happened. Watch right here. Watch what he's doing. He is just calling for a handball. He's no interest of pressuring the ball. No interest of doing anything. Just complaining. Modern footballer shouldn't be doing that. That frustration, that weak mind is the reason that this goal goes in. As the cross comes in, it's a decent cross. But again, you've got a defender here. He's just as frustrated as his teammate. So what does he end up doing? Pulling him back, stopping a clear goal scoring opportunity. And that's the problem. It's a clear goal scoring opportunity. So that's a red card. Well, it's not because he's given a penalty. So it should be a yellow card. But does he try to play the ball? No. So because he doesn't try to play the ball, that's a red card. Do you see how the weird rules are? Yeah, that's exactly what's happened. That's why it's a red card. And again, I'm going to have to double check because I know that that's what the interpretation that they're using is, but I don't know if that's the exact interpretation for the Europa League because they all have different rules and regulations for all of this nonsense just to confuse you, just so that they can do whatever. I just believe it so they can do whatever they want, and when they get it wrong, they can go, oh, look, we followed the IFAB rule. Yeah, but you're in Europa League. Yeah, but we're following the IFAB rule. Oh, we're following the legal. Yeah, but you're in the Europa League. Oh, and just, change it up, mix it as they go along. Like, I genuinely don't think Bruno Fernandes is a top-tier player. I really don't. But I tell you what, he's not bad from the spot. And he does some of these weird techniques, and I couldn't copy these or try to, like, running, then stopping, then having a look. See, this is where I go back to the rules again. I'm sure that they said that you couldn't stop and, like, do little steps like this, and you just had to run up and strike the ball, but then it all disappeared. It was probably about 5-6 years ago when they were trying to stop people doing that. I do think the keeper could have done a little bit better here because there isn't any power in this as well. He has sat him down, given him a bit of the eyes, but I do think the keeper could have done so much better because it was such a weak penalty. United go 2-0 up. Again, this is worrying for Athletic Club. They are carved apart. Look, you can see 3. They've got players on either side. All right, so this is quite interesting. I quite like what they're doing defensively here. So if their right back is wide, their left winger is wide, so they're actually being able to put pressure on any of these players that are out here. I kind of like that, and it keeps their spank in the middle strong, except for the spank in the middle isn't strong. They just miss tackles here, just terrible. Pass, unmarked player, inside of behind their line, really, really easy. Bump. And he's flicked it first time. It's not a great pass. You can see he has to change his actual momentum. He has to stop where he's going, go back and receive it. And that enables him to, you can see he's coming in because he knows he's going to go, but he's got to win the tackle. If he goes here, he has to win this tackle. Bump goes, doesn't win it, ends up losing that tackle. So now they're in all sorts of trouble. Right here, he's too far wide. Should have carried on running in and covering for his defenders here. Doesn't. United just carry on playing with a little bit of style and one-touch football. Another important challenge here needs to be won, and it is by United. That's the difference. 2 challenges, 2 50-50s, both won by United inside the enemy's final third. All of a sudden, they're creating themselves a goal-scoring opportunity. Boom, on it goes. Little bit of a flick. Matey, who was too lazy to come back, is 2 steps too late. If If he was one more step forward, he's right in line to deal with this ball, but he's not. That's the difference of being back in your starting position early. When you see the danger and you're going back and you're getting alongside your other defenders and you're closing that gap, that's why you need to be there just a little split second. And that is the difference between the top players and everybody else. As we move it forward though, blunt flick, and now it's just can Ratface finish? And he does do this technique when he looks like he's going to smash the ball and he puts his arm out and he just dinks it past you, puts the keeper down, because guess what? Ratface, he can finish. Dumph. Puts it over the keeper, makes it 3-0. A couple of other little chances in half penalties, not really worth talking about because it's all going to be about next week. That's week. That's what it's going to be. If you're a United fan, if you watch them, you don't really care what they do this weekend. You want to put your kids out because your whole season is to get into that final and then it's to win that final, because otherwise you're not in the Champions League, you're not in Europe, and your whole season's been a waste. If you lose on the weekend, it doesn't make any difference to you whatsoever, but you need to make sure that you win next week at home, and that's why you need to rest your players, do whatever you can, put them in cotton wool, because the last thing you want is 2 players injured in a game that doesn't mean anything. Other than that, I'll see you next time on Cash Talks Football.